Hey friends, Tracy Brown here, and my team and I of non-diet dietitians provide trauma-informed nutrition counseling so that you can be safer in your own skin. And it's really, really, really common to get a little in a rut, in a funk, kind of bored with food sometimes. I call it something that all adults have to face, part of the adulting, I think, process when it comes to, shopping, planning, shopping, cooking, eating, how to use your leftovers. We all get in routines that after a while we start to get bored of. Basically, that's not pathological. That really just takes a moment to step back and to reconfigure some of your shopping list. Essentially, that's not a problem. But for those of you who are struggling with just feeling you might buy some food, but then you go to eat it and you're like, ugh, yuck, grossing me out, or like, ugh. And it can lead to deprivation-driven eating. It can just kind of lead to eating maybe what you don't really want to or don't really like, but you do anyway for lack of not knowing what to do. It can lead to restriction. And you feel like some people proclaim they feel like they're going backwards. Well, they're really not going backwards per se, but we're in this new necessary need for another level of permission. Because sometimes we've been doing some permission or pseudo permission, but not full permission. So this encouragement, we're going to go over a few little things that might be blocking your creativity with food, and therefore make food. I want your food to be satisfying, even if it's very simple. Even if doesn't matter how much even your budget necessarily is for food. We want to be able to have the settling in our systems to be creative and resourceful with what we have, right? So some of the things that I see block people's creativity with food include not full permission to eat, not full permission to have the fats and to use the seasonings and the sauces and the salt or the sweeteners we need to make food more enjoyable, more palatable, or to even, mix things and again, just be creative. So lack of permission. So if you're not with full permission for all the food groups and for the sides and for the things that would make a meal complete and cohesive and work together, and maybe have different sensory aspects to it. So your salt and your sweet and your savory and your sour and your umami and bitter. Change it up. Try some different things, with your food. Whether that means, even if the food doesn't totally match maybe the meal, maybe you do it anyway just to get some inspiration. Another thing that can block creativity, really, I get it, is energy. If you're not feeling well, if you're in a flare of some kind of chronic illness, or whether physical, mental, emotional, and you're just kind of feeling blah, well, give yourself permission then to have more support to, I would call it meal share with maybe friends, family, neighbors, something like that. Maybe it is going to be more around allowing full permission, for simpler meals, frozen, takeout, things like that, to kind of boost your creativity again for when you do feel better. All right. So we've talked about full permission, not faux permission. We've talked about compassion and acceptance of feeling tired, feeling sick. Make things easier. Don't withhold maybe getting more support. All right. Another thing is just really being too activated. I mean, if we are not in our decision-making, big picture thinking part of our brain, more cognitive, it's hard to kind of think about like what I have available and how I could use it if, we're in a threat response. So I would say this is one, full permission to eat is a barrier for everyone. But at some point we have maybe permission, but our lives are still reflecting this like threat response state. There's not enough yielding. There's not enough slowing down. There's not enough taking in more good. And so our food will reflect that by maybe being repetitive, by being, you might hear these thoughts in your head of like, oh, well, I can get by on that, but well, that's a memory time thing to do. Like our job right now in recovery isn't really to just get by, but we want all these opportunities to learn. And that includes with food. And if we're not making space and time to be the person that you've always needed, for maybe in the past someone to be for you, to like value your preferences and value your need maybe for some differences in your food intake, if that was accessible, of course. If you were just kind of recapitulating what we know in our nervous system, we get the same result, which is, grabbing and eventual boredom with food, right? So it's really important that, what we do and what we say with our here and now time actions reinforces that our needs are important and our preferences are important, or it reinforces the old neural biology that it doesn't matter that much what you need or want and no one's listening. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to rejuice up those that old neural biology. It's really important. And so by hearing that, I'm hoping that maybe makes you curious, maybe motivates you to be like, yeah, like maybe it's deeper than just like a variety of food, which is important for nutrition, but also the actions show your attachment system that you're safe too. You're a safe person. You listen, you see, you hear, you take the time. So sometimes that in itself is what blocks our creativity with food. So those are just 3 reasons. I'll just leave it at that today. There's many more. Once you start to explore, you got your notebook and your paper out and you're exploring maybe the reasons why my food's kind of boring, why I've gotten in a food rut, where is my creativity? I guess I'll just give one more bonus, is that sometimes, again, we grew up in situations where it was just eating for survival, whether it was financial, constantly in a threat state response. Maybe you grew up with somebody in diet culture that made low calorie, bland, not very palatable food or not enough food. And it was repetitive because that felt safer to them. And so that's what you had to survive on. I could see where we just don't have the practice. And so again, a thing we can do to help improve our practice is to watch other people cook. Go to a friend's house for an afternoon and who loves food and who enjoys the process, and to just be with them and learn by drafting off of them and learn by experiential how to do it. Watch people cook on TV. Some of the craziest shows or those cooking shows are the ones where they just have a basket, they open it up, you have to deal with what you got. And I know it's like, high speed and high stress and kind of exotic stuff, but it doesn't have to be so high speed and it doesn't have to be so exotic. But once you start trying to buy on purpose to eat a bigger variety of food, you start to learn what things go together just through the embodied experience of it. So I encourage you all to go back and watch this video from the beginning, or watch it again if you watched it all, and take your notes and where are you feeling stuck, and then let's kind of reverse engineer this. All right, so we do this work with people a lot. If you want to do more of this and get those same results of freedom, and once you get, like, if you're like me and you get stuck in food ruts, which I still do after all these decades of this work, is that like, all right, I kind of get like, enough is enough. I'm starting to not feel satisfied, and I'll take an extra 30 minutes somewhere in my week and just think about the things we haven't had in a while, things we like, riffs off of other things we're eating. Again, might watch some cooking shows and get some ideas like, oh, that's right, I forgot about that cut of meat or fish or that usage of that ingredient, and just jump on it and make it that next weekend coming up. You're welcome to reach out to us too if you want to have some support doing that. We can help you get out of the food ruts pretty fast. So and make this not so overwhelming and hard. And food just be food, and it does take energy. It does take a little time, but mostly we want to consider this an act of caring. It's not a burden. It's an act of caring. Yes, it takes effort, but you're worth the effort. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.